So we are going to start this breakout session on the challenges of technological change and climate transition in garment manufacturing in Bangladesh and India. So these are research both SANEM and IHT India we have been doing, and this is kind of funding we received from IDRC through Learn Asia. And here today, we are going to present kind of initial findings from our ongoing research. The research is still going on, and there are various stages of research, and we have done some primary survey, and we'll present both the Bangladesh case and Indian case. Will be presenting those findings from the primary survey. So we are very glad to have Professor Alok Sharma, Professor and Director, Institute for Human Development, New Delhi, India. He is connected online and through Zoom. Sir, thank you. Welcome. And I hope, sir, you can hear me. Professor
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you, sir. And we also have very happily we have Mr. Anarul Parvez Chaudhary, and he is actually the leading ready-made garments exporter in Bangladesh and another leading business leader. And he now runs Bangladesh Chamber of Industry, if I'm not wrong, BCI.
Chamber of Industry.
Bangladesh Chamber of Industry. And I think he's the most right person to discuss on some of the findings what we'll be sharing today. So I think before we'll hear from both Professor Sharma and Parvez Bhai after we make the presentations. So I think what Mahtab, if you can open up the Bangladesh presentation slide. Yes, so just to give a little bit of background about this study, we started almost more than a year now back. So the idea is to understand, as I said, the technological adoption in the ready-made garments industry, and especially automation and various other technologies which are being adopted, and how it is going to have implications for employment, for gender dynamics, and for future growth too. So under this research project, we'll be producing, and we have been producing, in fact, quite a number of research papers. The first paper actually I did with Dr. Dev Nathan from IHT. We prepared a conceptual paper on how to really conceptualize this whole dynamics. And then there are a series of papers, research papers, and mostly using the kind of existing data set, especially both in Bangladesh and India. They're using the labor force survey data, household survey data, or industry data, and especially also the World Bank Enterprise Survey data. So how do we really kind of understand the dynamics within the ready-made garments industry? But one value addition of this whole exercise is to conduct a primary survey across farms, garments farms, and also the entrepreneurs, the owners, workers, and also different stakeholders, related to the ready-made garments industry, both in Bangladesh and India. And one important aspect is that though both Bangladesh and India, they produce ready-made garments and they export it, the structure of the industry they have differences. And in the presentations, you will also see that kind of differences, in both Bangladesh and India, the structure of the ready-made garments industry. Because India has a very strong textile kind of backward linkage, where Bangladesh is not, at par of with India. I think what you call the challenge of technological change and climate transition during the garments industry in Bangladesh. So I request Mahtab to just take us through some of the findings. Maybe Mahtab, you can skip some of the exercise what we have done using the World Bank Enterprise Survey. You focus more on the survey what we have done. Yeah, so let's start at 20 minutes from now. I'll come.
Thank you so much, sir. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So let me welcome you to our this presentation where we'll be talking about the challenges of technological change and the climate transition in garment manufacturing industry. Particularly, we'll be focusing in my presentation from the Bangladesh front. So you see the garment industry in the country, it is going through some rapid transformation. It's happening globally. So it's happening on two fronts. Particularly, one is the automation, and the other is the climate change adaptation. So this twin transition, it presents both some benefits and there are some challenges. So there are some gains and some losses. So opportunities could be widened for for skilled workers, those who have those who can adapt to these changes, but it is far narrower for the low skilled workers, and that's where Bangladesh matters most. Then so most of our workers, particularly the females, they are more skewed distributed towards the left, or less skilled. So that's the backdrop that we are seeing today. So as I mentioned, we are doing many papers. So we in our project we are looking at the digital and climate technologies and how they are affecting women differently. We are talking about living wages and decent work. We have how social protection are there for government workers, and we also talked in another paper. We are looking at what kind of skill development are needed to help workers, particularly females, to move into new jobs. So study design is particularly there. We did lots of many secondary data analysis. We used the labor force survey. We used the World Bank Enterprise Survey. We used the SMI. We did 50 KIs with the stakeholders, and so far we have done 41, 9 pending. So it's ongoing. We completed survey with 200 government factories. We did 200 government workers, and we did 100 enterprise surveys, and we completed 5 case studies. So what I'll be doing, there are lots of things that I cannot share with you. So what I'll be showing, it's kind of tip of the iceberg. It's a very minimal things or the key findings that we can say from our findings. So in this presentation, I will just give you a very brief backdrop, just in 1 minute or so, and then I'll move to the some results for 2 minutes on a secondary data analysis, and then I move to the survey part. So I'll be very quick with the secondary data one because our time is very limited. So the backdrop is, look, why does government matter so much for Bangladesh? One is its contribution to our exports. It's share to our all exports is close to 80% or more than 80%. Second is its contribution to the GDP. If you look at the graph, you will see whenever the red one is the GDP growth, the green one is the RMG growth. You see whenever RMG is going up, GDP going up, RMG going down, GDP going down. So it has contribution, and there are lots of studies who prove that they have a positive causal relationship between them. The last one is the employment. If you look at the female employment, almost 65% of all females who are employed in the manufacturing sector, they work in the RMG. So it's true for males actually. Okay, so in this matter, there is one very particular pertinent thing that we have to remember is that females, they are more concentrated to the lower ladder of this distribution. Just look at the second graph. So you see the females who are the green one, they're on the job ladder. They are only on the first and second tier of the level of the job. So they are more likely to be affected when there are adverse effects to them. I would like to skip this one, but just to give you a short hint, this graph shows what per worker. So these are the per worker export earning between 2013 and subsequent labor force survey data. So these data shows us that in 2013 per worker, RMG worker, they earned around $8,000. Now they are earning $11,000. But the share of female employment that has gone down in the RMG, in textile, both female and male employment has gone down. What it shows basically there are automation taking place. So we did some regression analysis. We showed that there are gender wage gap in the RMG. But and then I'm just skimming through. Okay, so this graph, what it shows is the lowest, what you call, it's a locally weighted smoothing. So what it shows, what is the predicted wage for females and males in the government workers, depending on their age. The red one is the female, so it shows the females earn significantly less compared to males. Now, social security in terms of benefits that the government worker receive or the access to social protection, it's just close to 13%. So that means 13% of the government workers they receive some kind of benefits from the government. Now, it's my main part. So it's the key findings from the SANIM surveys in Bangladesh. First one is the employer survey. So in the employer survey, what we did, we went to 100 employers, top managers. So what we did simple random sampling. We had a total list of RMG firms from the VGMA and BKMA, and from the VGMA we had a letter, and we selected the firms randomly, and we selected them from Dhaka and Gazipur, half. So then we subdivided the regions. So some very basic characteristics of the distribution of the firms. Most of the governments in Bangladesh, they are basically large and medium. Okay, so they have more than 1,000 workers. And that's also so in our data. And what type of governments we visited? You see, the almost 42% of the firms we visited, they were knitwear. Children governments were producing about the 33% of the firms. Denim and cloth make and trim, headwear. So in terms of around 66% of the firms we visited, they were private companies. Only 5% of the firms, they were joint ventures with foreign investors. Now comes to technology adoption. Okay, so technology adoption. So what kind of technology did these firms they took in the last 2 years? So what you will see, most of the technology they adopted is the automated cutting or sewing machines. 95% of the firms, they said, okay, we automated our sewing machines. 76% said they took energy efficient machinery or system. Only 5% of the firms, they took the AI or machine learning. One thing what we can understand, the AI is still developing, okay? So in the coming years, you might see this number jump up. Now, second one, motivations. Why these firms, they went for adopting new technology. 97% of them said that it will increase their productivity, and they said, many of them, 86% said to attract international buyers, for environmental sustainability, or reduce labor costs. So you see, labor costs, that means there are implications for our workers. Now, observe productivity gains after adopting new technology. So did it benefit them? Our data shows, yes, it did. So, the 45% of the firms, they said their productivity has increased in the range of 10 to 20%. 25% of the firms, they said their productivity has increased more than 25%, 20%. So you see, since it's still early stage of adapting to new kind of technologies, that's why the numbers might look like a bit low, but I can guarantee you, as a labor economist, and my knowledge from teaching economics of the production function, 10% or 15%, 20% increase in productivity is a huge increase. Now, what are the impacts of this kind of automation? The number one is that what happened, when we talked to the firms, we asked, on which part of the job did you partially replace the machines? Did you partially replace the workers with machines in the past 2 years? 96% of the firms we surveyed, they said they at least partially they replaced their male or female workers with machines. So you see, cutting, then the design sample. So these are the main part where our technology adoption has gone up. The part where we low adoption was where were the quality control or inspection, warehouse inventory management. Then we asked, what are the sectors where you fully replaced your manual labor with machines? And this is what we got. 34% of the firms we surveyed, they said they fully replaced their manual labor with machines. Design 23%, sewing 9%. So these are the firms where we observe that those manual labors were completely replaced by automation. Now, there are some effects on the wages as well. So what we observe is kind of the both thing. Some firms, 28% of the firms, they say, well, our labor wage bill has gone up. So one explanation of it will be is if you are adopting higher technology, you'll be needing more skilled laborers. So maybe you have to pay higher wages now compared to before. And 16% of the firms said, their labor wage has gone down. So we can, come up with the explanation like these are the workers they replace with the low skilled workers. So, and most of the firms actually said 56% of the firms there were no significant change. So just to remind you that we're still in the early stage of automation. So automation as it progresses, so we might see more changes here. Then challenges faced by firms in adopting new technologies. There were the main reasons were high cost, then lack of skilled workers. Those two were the main challenges were reported. We didn't hear any resistance from workers. Just 1% of the firms they said they faced it. Now, so we also asked the firms about climate-friendly measures in factories. So what type of climate-friendly measures or green measures those factories took? So most of the firms, they installed water-efficient machinery. They installed, monitor and track water consumptions. They shifted to less water-intensive chemical processes. So these are the things that the firms undertook to go green. So kind of just transition. So what are the impacts of this kind of climate-friendly measures? Number one, impact of this kind of green technology. What we ask is one is the operating cost. So most of the firms they say their operating cost has gone up, like increased significantly, 23%. 48% of the firms they said it slightly increased, not measurable. Only 4% of the firms they said, adopting this green technologies did not increase, rather decrease their cost. But there were gains as well. Their productivity increased. Like the 47% of the firms, they said their productivity has gone up by 10 to 20%. More than 20% was reported by 14% of the firms. So one explanation that I can give you is that if you adopt more efficient kind of or more modern treatment plants or utilities, what it will do, it will give you more regular services, or your production process will be smoother. There will be less amount of hiccups during the process. So that can increase the productivity. Now, some barriers and supports needed. So what we heard from the employers, they talked about the high cost of installation. It says major barriers, 62% of firms mentioned it. They talked about high cost of maintenance, lack of necessary skills, and also lack of awareness. And the supports they need, they mentioned about training subsidies. They talked about tax incentives. 83% of the firms told us they need access to low interest loans to go green or adapt to these new technologies. Now, let me move to my workers survey. So in the worker survey, what we did, we talked to 200 workers. So we did simple random sampling. We went to the same places, Dhaka and Gazipur. So you see, we completed our employee survey first. So we knew what are the areas we did our factory visits, okay? Then we sent our enumerators in those vicinities, in those areas, and collected the worker survey. So we did it again, SR, in the simple random sampling. So we had 8 subregions and 25 workers per stratum, so basically 200 workers in total. So that's some very basic facts from our distribution of our workers. So if you look at the graph, or look at the graph, you will see that most of the females, their age is less than they are less than 40. Above 40, it's the mostly male workers. So throughout the surveys, basically it's more than 35. So above 35, you'll find very few female workers working in the RMG. So we need to keep that in mind. And then the another striking fact is the education category of the level of education category of the workers. Most of the female workers, they are primary educated. Most of the male workers, they are secondary educated. So you see, this is also another thing that we have to remember. Okay, so the age so females, they have less experience and they have lower amount of education compared to males. Now, so when we talk about the experience, so 10 plus years, the red line that you see, that's the male workers. So when it is 10 plus years of experience in RMG, females start to lose out. And in terms of monthly salaries, females are skewed towards the left. That means they are significantly lower compared to the males if you look at the distribution. Good. Automation impacts on workers. So we asked the worker what kind of impacts I know, sir. Thank you. So types of automation technologies that the worker are saying that happening in the factories. So they said 77% of the workers, they said there have been automation in the sewing machines, like it represents exactly what we saw in our employer survey. There have been CAD and 3D printing and that. So impact of automation on female workers' tasks. So most of the workers we surveyed, 10% of them said their productivity their efficiency has increased. Their automation had made their work easier. Another 10% said it imposed it imposed pressure to learn new skills. And there are also the fears of losing the job or reduce the number of tasks performed by them.
Madhav, what about, since this is the percentage, so what about the remaining ones? They didn't respond?
Sir, we took the top one. So it's it was a multiple responses. So, yeah. So let me move on to the climate technology adoption. So most of the impacts on workers is that, in terms of climate, like the green technologies that firms adopted. So here we see some of the very positive kind of thing. For example, 40% of the workers, they said, better air or health environment, they're feeling it. Their new safety procedures or protective equipment are there, reported by 36% of the workers. But around 50% of the workers, they said, these also reduce some roles in their workforce. And then with the adoption of green technologies, the factors, the workers, they said, if there is a new work created, it is 30% of the workers say, it is mostly the men who get the job. But just remember that it's a worker's perception, so we should be careful when we analyze this one. So barriers to women's adoption to automation. What we found is that it's from a worker's perspective. 65% they told us that the lack of training offered or the low level of education qualification. These are the major barriers there. And their biggest concern about the future of jobs in the RMG sector, most of the male or female, they actually think lack of technical knowledge, it will be the biggest challenge for their adapting to these changes. So let me very briefly tell you what we found from the RKI, what we did key informant interviews and case studies. So when we went to the factories, we found out like the knitting and dyeing, 100% male, printing, 100% male, fully automated, cutting and tagging, semi-automated, 90 to 100% of the workers, sewing, semi-automated, checking, semi-automated, packaging and shipment, we found complete manual and 100% manual. So these are from our case studies. We found that the men are engaged in the heavy work, while females are in where the precisions are there. Low skilled roles are shrinking fast, and women are exiting earlier from factories, computer mills. Automation cuts jobs, it raises efficiency though, and Bangladesh lags in workforce scaling up. I'm towards my conclusion recommendation. So Bangladesh should act fast and act now to ensure, number one, our skill development program should be adequately rewritten and re-energized with gender responsiveness. Our technological upgrading, whenever we are upgrading our technologies, we have to remember that it should be inclusive of of our labor market. And then our social protection program that needs to be strengthened. We need to monitor and govern what is happening in the sector. If the garment industry, they need support in terms of adopting green technologies, and at the same time to be inclusive, the government needs to give it. And last but not the least, we need multi-stakeholder coordination. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Martha. I think it was very much on time. So shows that the kind of results, which came out from our survey, that it had some important implications. Maybe the magnitude we can debate or we can talk. Also, since we were constrained by the school, it may not really represent the whole picture. But here, that's what we really need, the kind of insights from our Anurag Bhai, especially his rich experience in ready-made garments industry. Whether the findings what we have got, do they make sense, or whether we need to look at some other issues too, to gather a better picture. Now I invite Dr. Balwant Singh Mehta to present the Indian case study.
You can go over there. Yeah.
Screen this one, right? We just share the screen. Yeah, let me share it first. Then if you want to share screen.
Sure.
It's not changing it. So I have to stop it first.
Deepa, one question.
So I also welcome Dr. Saifuddin Ahmed, who is the Joint Secretary of the Ministry of Commerce and now is the CEO of Bangladesh Foreign Trade Institute. And he will also be a distinguished discussant after we, make the presentation. The presentation is over.
I think it changes now.
Link is shared. What's next?
Yeah. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for inviting me for this. I think it's good. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me for this conference and also for this discussion. Actually, what my previous presenter presented, like the similar kind of study we have done in India, and mostly we have also used a similar kind of methodology. But the difference, what Professor Rehan said, is there is a difference in structure, the kind of labor market structure, or even when we talk about the garment sector. So we have a different kind of structure, which I will talk in a minute. So I will not go into the detail. I'll just give you a glimpse of what I'm more focusing on automation and AI. I'm not talking about this climate one because India is hardly only, I think, 7-8 firms we have interviewed. They are using these kind of technologies. So we have a way to analyze in detail. So that we'll do it later as a descriptive analysis. So we are only focusing on the impact of automation and AI in the labor market. So what exactly, when we discuss about this new technology, digital, particularly it's called digital technology, this impact is globally now debated a lot. particularly when you talk about the World Bank, ILO, there is a World Economic Forum. They are talking about this automation, the new technologies replacing jobs. They are talking a lot about this, particularly the automation one. But in actually, there are two kind of things. One is automation is obviously is, and there is AI. So automation is basically, the transforming the production system by improving efficiency while creating risk of job displacement, wage pressure, and inequality. But on the other hand, AI, what the recent study shows, the AI is basically what it is doing. It's not replacing the job, but mostly is augmenting the jobs. Augmenting means is increasing your efficiency by learning new kind of skills. So these are the two things, and it is impacting more higher kind of jobs, even in the garment sector, like kind of designing or those kind of jobs, not the kind of jobs which just my previous speaker said, like the lower skill kind of job. So it's a different. So these are the two technology which all over the world people are talking about a lot, and why. And there are also studies. This shows like new kind of demands, skill demands required, and it's not only changing the job or displacing the jobs, but it's also restructuring the job role. It's changing the structure of the jobs. So we cannot say it's the job loss, but it's restructuring the job. So new kind of job roles are coming up, and new kind of skill demands is coming up. So we have to understand in this way. We don't have to understand like this displacing the jobs kind of thing. So it's losing, like we are losing the jobs and all. So this kind of narrative is always a kind of negative way, like the newspapers and other always talk about we'll lose jobs, this much job have been lost and all. It's not the kind of thing which the narratives, the job structure, or mainly the task is changing. So we have to understand in this way. And the second one is, why this study is very much important particularly in the southern India, global south, particularly in India, a development like India and Bangladesh, because there is no such study, which most of the studies till now has been done where automation and even AI is highly now they have adopted in most of the industries, most because their manpower is very low. So now why this sector is important in India? Actually, 45 million workers are involved in this sector, and females here obviously compared to other sector, the sectors employ a large number of women, and GDP here obviously. When you look at India level, the IT sector contributes around 1%, but it's contributed 2.3%. So you can see the importance of the sector, and its output, industrial output and export is also very high. But the structure and how it is different, India has a huge domestic market of government sector, unlike Bangladesh, which has mostly the export oriented. So these are the differences which even a lot of our firms which are basically not adopting these kind of technology because their manual labor is quite cheap, and they have to cater the local market where the demand is different than the international market. So that is the kind of thing. But obviously the low skilled worker and the dominance of women in this sector is always under threat just because of these new technologies. They will not upgrade themselves or they will not upskill themselves. So what the secondary data shows, I'm not going into the detail of my secondary papers and all, but I'll just say one thing. When we analyze the secondary data, like our we call periodic labor force survey, that is National Labor Force Survey, it shows like majority of the enterprises in India is micro and small enterprises in government sector. That is the kind of different features when we talk about the global North or particularly developing countries, and when we talk about the India, particularly even most of the South Asian countries, developing countries, they have dominance of the micro and small enterprise. I don't know about Bangladesh. Bangladesh has a little bit, I think, medium and large scale kind of enterprise, but India is mostly dominated by this small and micro enterprises, and obviously is dominated by gender. And the next one is why technology, they have limited capacity. Obviously, they have, the cost. When you go for the automation kind of thing, you need a huge resource, huge fund or to purchase those machines. So that is the kind of issues with particularly the micro or small enterprises. So that is again a constraint. And what preliminary, reports or, the kind of newspaper article or descriptive studies shows there are increasing automation in production process. What Dr. Mahatab just said, like there are cutting in garment sector, they are cutting, the stitching, and all these kind of production process. And on the other hand, there is a AI used in designing, planning, and management system. Now AI is also like gaining popularity, particularly those kind of sophisticated job where cognitive kind of skills are also being at risk. There is a task restructuring which I've discussed earlier. Like there are skill mismatch also. So these are the kind of, but these are only newspaper article or some international consultancy firms has done some kind of very preliminary study. So these are the kind of preliminary insights. So the objective, I'm not going to detail, but I'll just give you a glimpse with similar kind of objective we have. But here, for this particular only survey, I'm just highlighting few things which I'm going to present here. One is how the worker or employment structure in government sector where we have surveyed. Like we have surveyed two clusters. One is Bengaluru, other one is in NCR, Delhi. Obviously, there are several clusters in India, but these are the two major clusters which we have surveyed: 100 worker in Bengaluru and 100 in NCR, Delhi, and also 50 employer, and also case studies and a similar kind of we have repeated in both the countries. So one is worker and firm's profile, and how it is employment structure is there. The second one is how the working condition and job quality, because that is the most important thing, which is the working condition when you talk about the labor market, any kind of labor market, vulnerability or labor market employment. And the third one is exposure, like use of automation or these digital technology and impact of automation and AI on jobs, how they are adopting and job roles changing or task structure changing, and what is the skill demand. So this is a kind of net at last we will also recommend. So this will flow like this. Like first we'll understand what exactly is the labor market structure in the government sector. Then we'll understand the quality of nature of work, quality of work. Then whether they are exposing to this kind of new technology. Then we'll say whether this technology we have skill mismatch or what kind of skill is demanding. So I'll go one by one. First, the profile, overall the profile of the worker. So basically, medium firms dominate. See, we have not covered, below 10 kind of worker because those firms are basically, those enterprises are basically, are not going to adopt these kind of technology. So we are trying to understand. So we have interviewed mostly the medium or small or medium kind of thing and large. So they are basically middle here, I'm saying, but in India, the medium, the firms are basically, classified by the turnovers. So on the basis of worker, we have classified, what our data says, like 50 to 49 workers, worker size and all. So that's kind of medium size. But basically, these are again kind of not very big enterprises. These dominates. The female worker again dominates. The third one is a middle-aged group, and fourth one is migrant worker. And most of these depends upon the migrant worker. That is again is a vulnerable kind of workers and vulnerable. And the last one is technical qualification. Only 11.3% have some kind of technical qualification, so they can easily learn these kind of new skills. So that is also a kind of the issue. The next one is how their income and employment structure is. Basically, again here they fall into middle income category. I have classified this middle income, but based on our data. But again, this 25,000 to 50,000 rupees in metro city like Delhi and Bengaluru is not a kind of high salary. Again, they belongs to mostly the low income group. And so around 70%, you can say around 50, 66, 62, and it's 10 to 60 to 70%. 70% is belongs to the actually lower or very vulnerable kind of. Obviously, those who are earning low means they are also involved in low skill work. So that kind of concentration is there. When we see the structure of the employment, mostly again around 56% say they are permanent kind of worker. Again, this is a notion of from the employer. When you interview them, they say they are permanent, but I will come this in later slides. So like, but they are mostly employed on the contract basis for either they don't have contract or they are working on a kind of below 1 year contract. So this kind of problem is there. So they are even some of the permanent workers, they say they are permanent, but they are not that kind of. So informality is very high, and that involves contractual piece rate basis and daily wage worker. And now comes the real problem, like the working conditions, like working hours and labor intensity. They work long hours, like 10 hours per day and 6-day week to around 60 hours per week. So that kind of problem is there. High prevalence of overtime, higher pressure in smaller firms, and similar working hours across gender, with obviously male and female, if you see 10.2 and 10 hours. So mostly the similar kind of working hours they have. And then there is a gap in, obviously there is a gap in perception when we interview the farm owner and when we interview the worker. There is a difference. Worker reflect high work pressure, while farms say often, obviously they say their improvement in efficiency or productivity. So this kind of disconnect between productivity and work load or work expenses there. And job security and social coverage and contractual structure. You see, as I said in the beginning, like there are no written contract around half of the worker. They don't have any written contract, and less than one worker is 18.7, 19%. So when we see both together, so around 70% say like they don't have any either very short time contract or no written contract. So informality again is so it's very informal kind of. Social security benefit, there is a provident fund is providing to all the employees because of government compliances, but other kind of benefits again is very health insurance, gratuity, workplace injury. Their prevalence is not that much which is required. Yes. Now I'm coming to technology exposure. There is obviously high rate of adoption. Obviously, this adoption I will come. Why it is high overall exposure to technology, small segment without technology exposure. So why this technology exposure is basically when we see, I think my earlier presentation also present a similar thing. It's like C-boot and automatic saving machine and CAD system. These are the kind of top 3 or 4 kind of things which is happening. Obviously, AI is very not that much, but the kind of automation is happening is very huge. Even the kind of small enterprises we have in India. So across firms and so large firms exposure and large firms have high exposure and there are gender differences, technology concentration in production roles, limited use of advanced technologies. And then impact on work and task, the work become easier, increase efficiency, pressure to learn new skills, reduction in task, reduce manual work importance. So these are the similar kind of results which we have seen in Bangladesh. So this is very much similar to like what even the firms also say the same kind of things. So jobs restructuring with job losses, again, limited direct job losses. Only job restructuring happens. Technology is replacing specific tasks rather than entire job, leading to reorganization of work. That is the kind of notion, but there are two kind of things. There are differences in the notion when we discuss with firms and what they say, reported job displacement, a high job displacement, role changes and reduced workforce. So, what it shows like, they have different kind of perception just because this in the coming years or the kind of roles the technology is replacing. So the requirement or demand of worker will be less. So that kind of perception is there. Obviously, due to technological adoption, the demand of for a particular role, the number of worker required less. So that there is no job loss in say only 5.4% say direct job loss or displacement. But on the other hand, there is a huge job actually you can say reorganization or restructuring. So what kind of skill and training demand? What's a rise demand in technical and digital skill, low kind of existing skill base we have, particularly among the worker and women, significant skill pressure among worker, limited access to formal training, and then obviously there is a huge inequality between permanent and contract worker when we discuss about the training access. And there is a gender dimension. The women have similar but unequal outcome, concentration in routine and low skill roles, lower access to training opportunities, higher vulnerability to contractualization. Firms acknowledge similar kind of trend. What they say, the gender or the female will be adversely affected by technological change. And barrier, what are the barriers? Which just a minute. Barriers, high cost of technology is a major barrier, shortage of skilled worker, additional operational constant, uneven adoption across firms, impact on workers through increased pressure. In summary, I'll just say like there are the kind of workforce we have dominated by women, migrant, and low skilled worker, mostly middle aged with limited availability, indicating high structural vulnerability to new technological shift. And job quality, labor intensive with long hours, high overtime, uneven job security, and limited social protection. And then automation is widely used in production, AI use limited in design and management. No major job loss, but clear task reception is happening. Routine job obviously decline and demand of new jobs, technical and supervisory role increases. Their skill gap, mismatch between required and also inequality. There is an inequality, huge inequality, human and from the most vulnerable. So this is the kind of thing which the last slide, weak firm level support system. Actually, whatever steps are whatever steps are, the firms are only taking the major steps. No government or no kind of institutional support is there. So that is the major hurdle. Gaps in training ecosystem, need for integrated policy design, priority area identified by firm, addressing structural vulnerability and towards inclusive technological transition. I think these are similar kind of recommendations which earlier presentation is given. So I think these are the things which are obviously the preliminary findings which we have just finished this survey last week. So these are the kind of preliminary findings and which are very much aligned with the Bangladesh finding. I think this technology is restructuring the jobs. That is the most, and the skill demand is changing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Balban. I think that's two very interesting studies you have presented, and the Bangladesh and India case studies show that there are some very interesting common things, but also at the same time there are very interesting differences. So we have two distinguished discussants. The first one is Dr. Saifuddin Ahmed. Dr. Saif, you are online, and 7 to 8 minutes, something like. You have to unmute, Dr. Saif.
Yes. Am I audible?
Yes, audible, but we can't see you.
Yeah. Can you see me?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Should I start? Thank you so much for onboarding me in this very important topic because at this moment, although Bangladesh, in our export basket, ready-made garments accounts almost 80%, more than 80% of our total export. Still, we are trying to diversify our products. However, I think that we have that opportunities even to diversify within the ready-made garments. Now we are producing basic products and mainly cotton-based fiber or cotton-based ready-made garments. We have the opportunity to transform along with the focusing on our ready-made garments based on cotton. We can transform towards man-made fiber, and also we can produce high-end products and technology-driven products. There are different necessities going on along with the advancement of the time. There are different type of, I think, dresses for different levels of people, like for sportsmen, like for those who are working in the laboratory. But we are just picking up a very small portion of that advantage. I would like to say we are going to graduate in 2026. Maybe some deferment may occur, but at this moment, we are thinking that we are graduating 24 October 2024, 26. And after graduation, we will no longer be eligible to provide cash incentive or cash subsidies to the ready-made garments. Now we need, and we will lose some, I think, preferential treatment like duty-free, quota-free market access to many of our trading partners, and we will have some 3 years transition period from some, I think, key importers. But we will have to be prepared so that we can compete not only based on the preference we are enjoying now, but based on the innovation and technological upgradation and also skill upgradation. So I will have to go for skill-based, I think, production process so that we can be less dependent on labor-intensive basic products now we are enjoying. In this way, we can actually increase I think what I can say, the export earnings per unit cloth to a greater amount, so that it can actually meet the demands of the salaries and other occupational security for our laborers. So this is one thing that and government is also focusing on how we can actually providing incentives in a different way, which is not trade distortive and which will not hamper the competitiveness, still will actually increase the productivity and skill of the labor segment. And another thing, what I would like to say, that our women, mostly around 60% are engaged in ready-made garments. They are basically, I think, semi-skilled or unskilled segment, and having a very basic level education. But we will have to focus on STEAM if we would like to actually keep them the avenue that ready-made garment sector is not the only unskilled based or semi-skilled based, I think, industry. Gradually, there are lots of technological upheaval or technological advancement occurring, and technological transformation also occurring in the ready-made garment through the inclusion of automation, artificial intelligence, and we will have to actually link especially our workers with the changing technology, so that they can think that ready-made garments is not only the basic one, and also we'll have to change the mindset of our, I think, employer, especially our ready-made garments, what I can say, the owner of the ready-made garments, who can actually bring a change in their mindset so that they can cope with the new norms of the new expectation. And another thing that is very much pertinent with it, that now not only ready-made garments is confined within the necessity for the global north, but global south also, diversification of the market. We can think at the same time now environmental issue, climate change issue, labor standard issue are gaining momentum that we must focus, and we are also focusing on, but the pace will have to advance, will have to actually increase the pace that so that we can actually meet the demands. Now the issue of the ready-made garments has some externality, negative environmental externalities. We also know, everyone know that. So, and there are lots of hazardous issue that automation can actually minimize those issues, and technology upgradation can also bring a change through reduced use of electricity and green technology. Also, Bangladesh can boast of having so many LEED certified, textile industries. But still, we have to work hard so that many, garments industries can be brought under this segment. And we know that European Union has introduced Green Deal, Circular Economy Action Plan, Digital Product Passport, and Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, also due diligence, corporate sustainability. All these issues are coming forward. So we will have to have to focus on these issues, and at the same time we will have to upgrade our production, and at the same time we will have to have that capacity, and government is also working on this so that complying with the new standards of our importing countries at the same time, so that we can actually retain our competitiveness in the global market after graduation. So this and buyers will not actually increase the price, but will have to cope up with that existing prices, even though they have lots of, demands, compliance requirements. So it is at this moment, it is not, very ambitious to think that they will increase the price adjusting with their requirements, but we'll have to, bring up new innovation, new technological change, so that we can cope up with this, new expectations. And I have gone through the, all the, keynote speeches and all the speakers from Bangladesh and from India. We have got a comparative analysis how our future textile industry is going to achieve, and how we can actually cope up with the new expectation around the globe. And there are lots of issues revolving around this. First of all, I would like to say that this is circularity is one important issue that has not got so much momentum before, because I think now government is, formulating a policy regarding the circularity, circular economy. So this will help us to a great extent, so that we have lots of wastage. I think it is around, what I can say, it is around 6 lakh metric tons garments, jutes, huge amount, $6 billion of wastage. So we will have to focus on this issue, and our export policy 2024 to 2027, it has given focus on the technological innovation, circularity economy, and access to renewable energy. All these issues, I think we are in the right direction, but we'll have to, this, seminar has given some focus that our women workers are getting marginalized. So we'll have to bring them on the board. We'll have to keep their, potentiality towards greater success. And so we'll have to work anew. And I think this conference will help us to get good ideas that we can translate into our policy making. and we can create lots of policy space in this regard. I think this is a very, very timely. I think what we have learned from this, I think, seminar, that we can focus on in a renewed way, so that we can actually, both the countries, we can learn from each other, and we can actually translate our ready-made garments industry into a global excellent one, so that we can continue the momentum we have achieved in our ready-made garments industry. Thank you so much for giving me time. I thought that this one will happen tomorrow, and I would have a better preparation for that one. I'm sorry I missed the timeline. I'm so happy and grateful that still I have given the opportunity. I have been given the opportunity to join through online. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Saib. I think yes, I think probably kind of misunderstanding was the timing, but we are really glad that you made it, and you're very important intervention, and I think as an important policymaker, and the issues you have discussed, I think are extremely important. And so, from policymaker to the industry insider, industry leader, Mr. Anwar Alam Chaudhry Parvez bhai.
Thank you. Thank you, Salim Rahman, to invite me on this occasion. I don't know whether I could be able to contribute anything or not, but I'll try, because the subject is very much important. The challenges, especially the technological change and the climate transition. So these two subjects is related to not only the garments industry, any industry so far, not only for Bangladesh, but globally. I think it's becoming very important. And you cannot differentiate any of it, And technological is one aspect, and climate is another aspect, two different aspects we have to be look into it. And I must give a thanks to Mr. Masad Lee, in our side, and also Bilwan Singh Mehta. We can see that when the Bilwan Singh, and he was giving a presentation, this is for a very small, specialized, or sample stage of industry he's talking about. Mostly these are contractual basis. And it will never be matched with the industry, what we are talking about when our presentation has been shown. It is mostly the industry we are having 1,000 workers working on it. And there is one of the critical thing, I think I must make it very clear to the audience, in a sense that when you are comparing from the Bangladesh aspect, the industry challenges, industries, environment-wise, the labor issues, you have to be careful when you are taking into the consideration of India, because the presentation mostly with a smaller contractual, and here is every industry are a permanent, After the maximum 3 months you can keep on workers, and then automatically it will be a permanent. In Bangladesh, because of the compliance issue with the customers where we are exporting, not a single customer will allow you contractual workers. It has to be a permanent workers. There's a lot of differences there. When we can see the minimum wages, if you just look at it, they have shown 25,000 Indian rupees, And in our sampling sections, whoever comes, they are not getting less than 30 to 35,000 taka. But the workers, I think one of the slide I have seen over here, Madhab Udin has mentioned the 10,001 taka. There is not a single 10,001 taka. It's a 12,500 is the minimum started, which is totally fresh. But even then, 12,500 taka who are getting, we have to give a 2 hours overtime to them. And with these 2 hours overtime, they are practically taking at home is about 16 to 17,000 taka. And if you see the Indian presentations, they have mentioned every 10 hours working. And when I say the 35 hours, the 35,000 or 32,000, the sampling section, because in our sampling sections, the factory, what he was showing over here, none has a less than 42, 45 pupils, you know. And in our tailoring houses, you know, you can see that their earning is more. And they have between 10 hours, 11 hours. So the model has to be different, and we have to be taken into considerations. And you see the automations. I mean, today, it's not question of R&D sector or textile sector. Automation is must. It is already in it. We talk about the digital transformations, AI, you know, is coming. No, it's already in. We are in it, you know. So we cannot avoid it. It is our bias. Question is the automations, the transformations of it, you know, how far Bangladesh is. Bangladesh is always very aggressive entrepreneurs. They always go the best machinery in the world. Can you believe it? When I set up my textile industry, back in 2000, the sizing machines that I have brought from Switzerland, you know, if it has any technical problem, it's been fixed through the mobile, you know. From Dhaka to the Switzerland, the technicians don't need to come. Everything is digitalized platform. And we're just making a phone call. They are just saying, you just put this data, that data, and it works. And that's the Bangladesh, you know. Bangladesh always very, very aggressive. They don't care whether you make money or not. He cares that I have to be updated. That's the character of our industrialists. That's why I always say Bangladesh is a unique nation in a sense that we are not a spender nation. If we are a spender nation, we're not stable nations. In India or even in China, I have noticed that when they started in the industry, they go smaller way. They go with a second-hand machine. First they try to see its performance. Then they go with a gradually big and the latest things. Even in India, in all over. But in Bangladesh, it's the other way around. Whether you make it or not, if you set up an industry, you want the best machine, the latest machines, latest technology. And he thinks later on whether he will be able to run these machines, whether it's available skilled manpower is available or not. He thinks later. That's why he brought always, all the time, from the foreign technicians in our textile. You know, when we started and be successful, because one of the reasons is there are a lot of Pakistani technicians around the globe and the Indian. And in the R&D sector, a lot of Sri Lanka, you know, because technology they have brought in, and now how we're going to run it. That's the things, you know, that's the reason. Even our ERP, you know, or AI, industrial engineering. Bangladesh have started last 10, 15 years back. And we don't have the IE. We thought that IE means he will just take a stopwatch and check whether it's running or not, but how many pieces is doing it, you know. And after a few years, then they realize, oh, this is not an IE only. IE has another education is necessary, it's a bachelor degree. So he immediately tried to bring from India, tried to bring from the Sri Lanka, you know, and even 3-4 years back, majority industry in Bangladesh having a Indian and the Sri Lankan industrial engineer. But today, by the grace of Allah, the God, that we have our own local IE is available because they are quick learners. That's the beauty of the nation. You know, our people are very fast learner. So the automations when it comes is CAD and all these things, you know. Yes, the first things what we have done is we went to the design sections and the marking sections, because here the savings is a lot. And this CAD, run this CAD, we didn't bring anybody from the outside. It is a local people being developed by the machine, the technician from the machine supplier. And the IQ is over here is very much better. Who are these skilled workers? Those who used to do the regular pattern by hand, they've been transferred into the CAD operator. And this CAD operator, today, they are earning not less than 100 and 150,000 taka. This is the minimum they are receiving. The best one, they are drawing even 170 to 400,000 rupees, because perfection is coming, consumption is accurate, because if you can save it, you can make the money. Because the customer are giving you FOB basis, and today every single customer, they know exactly how much consumption is required, how much the swing thread will be required, how many pin will be required for folding, and it's the open costing we have to give. But when we started, it was not been required, but today it is required. And out of that, they have to make money. How? With the efficiency. How? With the technology, with the know-how, So, but when we go in the industry side, on the denim trouser, yes, we can see a lot of automation is there. Pocket attachment is there, or loop making is there, or side is there, some of the process, but not the majority. And that is the reason still the industry is here in Bangladesh. Otherwise, it will be gone. Even China could be able to do it, because still it is labor-intensive industry, and China didn't get it. But when in the shirt industry, shirt making, I have been, like 2 years back, I went to visit the Chinese machinery fair. I'm just trying to share with my experiences so that it will be helpful for you, to understand. So after a long time, I went and visited myself to the Chinese machinery fair, and I have seen lot of technology, lot of development is there in the shirt. Pocket attachment is there, collar automation is there, so many button automation is there, front placket is there. So you don't believe it. I immediately saying, I just see every single stalls, the best one, the best thing. And then I bought about the $1.4 million of the machinery for my existing industry. I brought it everything. And it was 6 months back. And in that, I went in February, last year, 2 years back, yeah. Still, lot of buttons, automatic button attach machines are idle. Button attach is it's not an operator. Because it is because of the order quantity, whatever is necessary, is not enough to run it.
Right.
The button attach, is that if it is a check or if it is a stripe, it has water. If it is solid, it is a. So still that technology is quite behind, not required for us, But what technology is necessary? And what we are looking for is not only the saving the manpower, it is a quality issue. It is a quantity issue. It is a dependency issue. Because in a garments industry, we work either in a line system or group system. If there in a line system, if one operator doesn't come who make a pocket attach, the whole line, the whole day is a problem, because one girl are not producing the whole shirt, is producing one process. So we don't want it to be dependent much. This is one of the reasons. Another is quality. It comes so nice, because it's a human hands, she's doing 60 pieces, 70 pieces an hour. Sometimes she might be a little bit sick or a little bit careless. Automatically the pocket will be, quality issue will be there. So these are the issues. So now what happened? Today, people are working with the more attachment and those kind of things. And as long as it will be there, industry will be there. Industry will be here, So it's a combination. We have to have good automations. At the same time, we have to be careful that it is not be too much automated, the industry, because the fashion and styles is changing so much. Think about the women's dresses. What kind of automation with machine you can change it? You cannot. Because the women's fashions has changed so much, quantity is so small that it will be difficult to bring all sort of machines over here. It's not so easy. So, but it does not mean that we will ignore it. We have to keep on tracking. It is a generation needs the automation. Generation needs the simplicity, and it will be there. Now that comes with the environment. Environment issue. See again, as I say, Bangladesh is very aggressive. Think about the LEED certifications. This country is the highest number of LEED certifications in the world. Today we have more than 260 industry are LEED certified. What is LEED certified? They have to prove that they are not using regular fossil, even a building starts from the building. Building, we cannot use the regular brick. It has to be gas. It has to be, that sand has to be that quality, and make sure the whole building, whole structure made up in such a way that we use less natural resources, and we are not burning the natures, whatever the product is coming from, even a painting, we have to be very careful. Now, we have to go into what? We have to see the water consumptions, how less we are doing it. The production starts, how many solar we are using. If it is a diesel, the point is less, If it is the environment, less energy you are using is the point. So the green air or clean air, it is very important. Less water is important, less electricity is important, and we have to keep the record every single moment. And we have to show it every single month that we are improving it. All the taps, water, it's not regular call or we are not using it, it's a tap, so that the water automatically stops. This is the way we have to be looking. And the future depends on it. So the way we start over here, things about the textile. I have a textile industry too. It's a zero discharge. Our ETP plant, trust me, nowadays, the bigger company, they don't place the order if we don't have a certain number of, not only the ETP, even use of chemical is a very important factor. Less chemical, use in a dye stuff is an essential part of our textile industry's compliances. The customer are looking at, because the textile industry globally 10% emission they are creating CO2. And the fashion industry's target is they used to say by 2030 zero. Now they talk about 2050. They're talking about 2050, 2035, certain number. And it is coming everything on top of our size, So Bangladesh is growing means Bangladesh is accepting all these compliances issue and we are addressing it. And that is the reason we are keep growing. It's not that we have a cheapest sources of material. No. Remember, Bangladesh fabrics is at least 10 to 15% higher than the Chinese fabrics, than the Indian fabric. But still, customers are placing over here. It is only because lead time is shorter, and we are giving a guarantee about the environment issue, that it is a less environment and it is an environment friendly product this country is producing and offering. That is the only reason. But I think that together, if we can work the way that Sanam is working, and the way all the young colleagues have been concentrating and concerned about it, I think that Bangladesh have no choice rather to will move forward. And today's young generations, it is a requirement, it is due requirements also, that it has to be a green environment. And every product has to be like that. And to be treated, every single one should be nicer way. Start from the labor to the management. And I think for that reason, we all are being concerned, and we don't want to just give a bullshit to our young generation who are more born for the automations, for AI users and environment friendly atmosphere. So we would like to offer, and the industry is ready for it, and they are working on it day and night. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Parvez, right? I think it's excellent insights what we have received. And I was thinking when you were speaking of this, because, I think one of the topmost key from interviews we've already done, even with your intervention. So the kind of information we have gathered. Excellent. So we have very little time. We'll go to Professor Alok Sharma for his special guest remarks. But just checking if anyone wants to have any question. Okay, please.
Hi, I'm Shimakar, finance student from University of Protection. My question is to Mr. Mahatab sir. Basically, we are pretty good in our production system, but we cannot bargain too much in the international market. So, do you think if this efficiency can lead us to production capacity can help us in the to increase the efficiency in the eco-home?
Could please come again? Can you repeat it just one more time, please?
We are pretty good in production, but cannot sell our product quite good in the market. We have some tools like tariff and there is a broker tariff, others is also accommodated there.
So I think I have kind of understood that kind of what we really want to we produce, what we want to export, will face different kinds of tariff barriers and non-tariff issues. So what is this the question?
Adoption is efficient for our economy or not? Our economy is ready to all this, take this, all this adoption.
All the kind of challenges. Okay, thank you. Thank you. We'll definitely respond to you. Can you tell me, where you're from and your...
My name is Shimakar Pilim. I am from Bangladesh University.
Okay, thank you. Very good. Any further question? Okay.
Good afternoon. I'm Mahdia from University of Dhaka. I wanted to ask, what do you think will the long-run impact of automation be on the labor demand in the R&D sector in the context of Bangladesh?
Okay. Very, thank you. It's a very long question for long-run impact, but we don't have that much of time. So I think I'll request both Dr. Balwant and Mahatab to respond very quickly. And let's not, because of the time, we are not going to take any further question. Why don't Balwant very briefly, for India?
Yes, that's true.
Very briefly.
Actually, this same question to ask the other seminar. Actually, the kind of technology is evolving, and now, even in India, people are talking about 2047 will be developed, but it's very difficult to say even for next 5 years how the technology will change. So we have to ready for like 2-3 years. Obviously, as I said, this is not a kind of disruptive technology. What is perceived or what is actually documented, like a lot of reports are coming in all. But the kind of structure, this is basically restructuring the job market or labor market. I will just talk about labor market. So this is restructuring the labor market. And now new jobs and nature of jobs is changing, and we have to keep our skills set, our young or our existing workers ready for those kind of challenges. I think that will be sustainable even whatever new technology will come. So we have to keep changing ourselves, keep changing our labor market, our skill force, workforce material. We thank you.
Thank you, Balwant. Madhav, very quickly.
Thank you so much, sir. So particularly the question, on the question of are we ready to adapt to the challenges? My answer would be like, labor demand is a kind of derived demand. So the work firms, they don't demand the labor, they demand the output. So that's why the labor demand is there. So if the demand for output, for producing the output, I'm accordingly more of the I'm going for the automation. Definitely that will have long, consequences. So that leads to my answer to the automation and the labor demand. Actually, basically, so if we do not train our labor market, if we do not upskill our workers, then there will be severe, negative consequences. Just to supplement my answer is that what happened in China or Vietnam is that it was not only RMG that happened there. So once RMG was saturated, investors moved to the light engineering, electronics, or semiconductors. Okay, and those sectors need skilled worker. That's the demand. So due to the increased demand in the semiconductor or the electronics, there's a demand for skilled workers. So due to that demand for that sectors, the workers were they had the incentive to upskill themselves. So they were encouraged to, okay, I'll have to learn how to work for the semiconductor industry. You understand my point? So that didn't happen in Bangladesh. We don't have any other industry other than RMG. So one thing would be is having other emerging sectors that need skilled workers. So that our workers are skilled, they move to the other sectors. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Why don't you grab Madhav sir during the tea break for further discussion? I think that's the best way. That's why we kept tea break much longer than the shorter one. I acknowledge and thank Sachini Narasimhan from Larnacia to join this session. Thank you, Sachini. And Larnacia is our partner. Larnacia is a leading think tank in Sri Lanka, and they are implementing this big research project. It's not only Bangladesh but Sri Lanka and Philippines, and they have also made calls for research proposals for the second round. Thank you, Sachini. And now it's my time to invite Professor Alok Sharma, the Director of the Institute of Human Development, New Delhi. Sir, over to you for your concluding remarks.
Thanks, Dr. Raihan. Very grateful to you for inviting me, but I am embarrassed that you have made me a special guest. I am an academic, or rather academic administrator, so I had told you that in any case I would participate in it in this session. Saneem and IHD have been collaborating, working together for a long time. Along with Dr. Raihan, our colleagues worked in a major study on South Asia Research Network quite some time ago. And I'm very happy that this study is going on. Although I am not part of this study, but my colleague Balwant, Priyanka, Varsha, Diksha, Devanathan, they are part of this study. And of course, apart from Dr. Raihan, Mahtabuddin, Deepa, we have been constantly interacting. Friends, I will give only some general remarks. Needless to say, digital technologies and now artificial intelligence, along with the climate transition and various methods to adopt so-called net zero transition or lesser carbon, are going to affect labor market tremendously and also path of growth. In India, I don't have much knowledge about Bangladesh. Some knowledge, of course, and Bangladesh and India have almost similar labor markets, although in terms of magnitude and and various processes, they are quite different also. But India so far, in only select sectors, automation has taken place. At least, but exception was automobiles. And automobiles was one sector where technology was adopted very, I think, from last 10 years now, robots and all that have been doing. Garment sector is a late starter. I think Bangladesh, I understand that in technology adoption, it is ahead of India compared to India. But so what will happen? This project, based on funding from IDRC through Sri Lanka, is looking into these aspects, how the technology adoption and climate resilience measures will affect labor markets in garment sector. Garment sector is highly competitive, needless to say. All over the world, whichever countries are specializing in it, Vietnam, India, Bangladesh, other countries, there is some kind of race to the bottom, and in which workers are being compressed. In both these sectors, Bangladesh, of course, it is a lifeline. 80% of the exports we just heard. In India, this sector is not that large, but still quite large. As Balwant said, 4.5 million workers. But if you take total textile workers in India, in which handloom will come, many other workers will come, some forms of handicraft will come, it is the largest employer in India also, textile sector, after agriculture. All the importance has decreased. So now this topic is, or rather, impact of new technology and net zero, towards net zero transition has been hardly studied, at least in this sector in South Asia. So this study becomes very, very, very important. As I said, in India, the penetration is much less, but certainly there is no way other than to modernize. In the name of efficiency, one has to survive. For that, to remain in the market. Problem is that, and Bangladesh firms are probably much larger than Indian firms. In Indian firms are generally less, and large number of women, they will be 60% or 50% of the entire workforce, they are in the informal sector. The other problem is that in India, many of them are home-based. How do you give them productive technology so that their labor efficiency is increased? They are mostly decentralized. And of course, there are problems of contract workers, casual workers. How will you, after contract workers are hired for 2 years, 3 years, casual workers are hired on daily basis. But these are specific to India problems. I'm not aware because Bangladesh firms are larger. How to equip them with modern technologies, and in case of home-based workers, how do you give them climate resilient technologies? So these are the questions. The other issue is wages. And of course, it is also related with daily wage workers, because in case of home-based workers, which is a large part of the textile workforce in India, it is paid on piece rate basis. How do you measure their productivity? It is based on only their productivity. So how to equip them again with that, and how to increase their wages? You know, you must have, Bangladesh people also must have seen the labor unrest in recently. Violent protests took place in Delhi, Noida, Gurgaon, and other areas. Or many of the firms were textile workers, textile firms, garment factories in Noida. And the issue was constant wages. In Bangladesh, Dhaka, also this took place unrest quite some time back, not recently, but India it has taken place. And you know, I don't have much time just to tell you, trade union movement in India started with textile. Mahatma Gandhi was associated with Ahmedabad Textile Workers Union. And many leaders of the freedom movement were in fact associated. Trade union has diminished. So what will, in this study, probably we have missed. I don't know whether we can take up, Dr. Raihan, what is happening to workers' voice, trade unionism, which I said that this was the original trade union movement in India, textile. So what is happening to that? So this is the other issue is technology is changing, we've seen. Western technology, it is geared towards labor saving because they have dearth of labor. But in South Asia, we have abundance of labor. Our R&D, including India and Bangladesh, we have a very small percentage of the funds we give private industry or even government. In India, private industry contribution to, in fact, R&D is still very small, compared to the global level. So, along with that, whatever measures we are saying, after all, there should be suitable, appropriate technology also, which is geared towards increasing efficiency, productivity, but not much labor displacing. And of course, skill development, training. We can't escape the technological revolution, whether AI, digital, and all that. So issue is very complex, but I'm happy that for the first time, probably, I do not know, in India has not a comprehensive study on this topic has not taken place. And I understand also Bangladesh might have taken place. So Bangladesh and India comparison will be a very important contribution to the literature. With these words, I thank everybody for giving me time, and especially Dr. Raihan and Salim. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Your insights will be extremely important for us, and definitely we'll see, to what extent some of the new insights you have shared with us, to what extent we can incorporate, or this study can lead to further studies. And I fully agree with you, sir, that this is the first time study in Bangladesh, and also I hear from you that this is the kind of study first time in India too. So I think we are kind of doing some very pioneering work, but I'm quite sure that many more studies will actually follow from this study. So thank you once again, sir. And with this, we'd like to close this session, and I again thank the audience and thank the presenters and the discussers. So let's go for the tea. Thank you.
That's okay. But I think they have taken photos. যারা missing যারা
So, yeah, it is short.